So I know the phrase nervous system regulation can sound kind of woo-woo, can sound kind of hokey, especially if you're not really familiar with that phrase or really know what that means. Or it might sound kind of intimidating or you're not really sure about it. And I do feel like it's a pretty bold claim to say that nervous system regulation is a huge part of parenting and just life in general. But once you understand a little bit more about nervous systems and what regulation actually means, you start to see how this really can be true. So first off, every single person, every single human being is born with a nervous system. It's literally part of your body. There is the central nervous system, which is your brain stem and spinal cord, and then there's the peripheral nervous system, which are the nerves that run throughout your body. And underneath this umbrella of peripheral nervous system, you have an autonomic nervous system, which controls processes in your body automatically without you needing to think about it, like your heartbeat, blood pressure, etc. And under this umbrella of autonomic nervous system, there are also two more branches. There's the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system controls your fight, flight, freeze response. And the parasympathetic nervous system prepares you for rest and relaxation. It calms you back down. So the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems work together. They're complementary. One amps you up and one brings you back down. If you're already lost, if this is already a bit too technical, that's okay. All of that is to say that having a nervous system is part of being a human because it is literally part of your body. Everybody has a nervous system that fluctuates up and down because of the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems fluctuating throughout the day. So nervous system regulation just refers to regulating or monitoring and being able to change what is going on with these systems. Because if you're like me, sometimes you might have a spike of energy or arousal or the many different names it can be called for something that doesn't actually need that big of a response from your body. For example, you have to make a phone call. You're getting really anxious about it. You can feel your heart pound. Your sympathetic nervous system is sending you into fight, flight, freeze mode to prepare for a phone call. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to gaslight anybody. Having anxiety over things is very real. But it's not actually what our nervous systems evolved in response to, which was originally getting chased by wild animals. So your nervous system, your body, is having the same reaction as if you were to see a lion walking while you're out walking. And we just don't really need our bodies to respond as if we had seen a lion on our walk to get water when we're trying to make a phone call, right? So this is where regulation comes in. So being able to notice that your sympathetic nervous system has been activated, that you are in fight, flight, freeze mode, and then working to actually change that if that's something you want to do. So we're trying to deactivate, de-escalate the sympathetic nervous system and activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which will bring our body back down to equilibrium here. And there are lots of things that you can do with your body physically to do this. Including taking a deep breath is probably one that you are very familiar with. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be a deep breath. There are lots of different ways to breathe to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to bring you back down from that heightened state. You can exercise, you can move your body in a way that feels good. To quote Emily Nagoski in her book Burnout, you need to complete that stress cycle, which basically means you can't go from being super activated, super high alert, high energy, I'm nervous, my heart's pounding, to immediately being calm. It doesn't work that way. You have to do something to get that feeling out of your body, to complete the stress cycle, to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. And that's often done by moving our bodies. Dancing, going for a run, screaming into a pillow, squeezing things. And once you have completed the stress cycle or activated the parasympathetic nervous system, which brings you back down, then you feel calmer. So regulation, in terms of nervous system regulation, refers to actually being able to notice when this is happening and then actively working to change it. You are monitoring, you are regulating, you are literally regulating or monitoring and then purposefully changing your nervous system state. And this is helpful for every single person because every single person has a nervous system. Every single person has a sympathetic nervous system, which is going to get activated when they detect a threat, even if it's not a life or death threat. Your nervous system still perceives it that way because of how we evolved. And every single person has a parasympathetic nervous system, which brings your body back down to calm. And so everybody has these ups and downs all day long because of our nervous system and the branches of it working together to amp us up and save us from danger, and then to bring us back down after the danger is gone. Sometimes, though, the threat, the danger, is not actually danger as though our body's perceiving it. It's not always life or death, like we're being chased by a wild animal out in the forest. Sometimes it's just sending an email or making a phone call or whatever it may be in our modern life. And so being able to be aware of our body states and if whether or not we're activated, and being able to actually consciously bring ourselves back down to like baseline level is super, super helpful for every single person, grown-ups, kids, everyone. Because just about every single behavior that you're ever going to see from a human being is based on this nervous system activation. Whether it's the sympathetic nervous system being activated because someone is detecting a threat, or their parasympathetic nervous system is activated and they're cool and collected. We know when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, when someone's body is perceiving a threat and they are going into fight, flight, freeze mode, that their frontal lobe, the part of their brain that allows for higher level thinking, such as problem solving, time management, planning and executing tasks, that part of the brain is kind of offline for all intents and purposes when the body is detecting a threat which it perceives as life or death. So knowing this about people, knowing this about nervous systems and how they work, this is such a huge part of parenting and working with children whose brains are still developing. They're not fully developed. They won't be fully developed until they're around 25 years old. And so many of their behaviors are going to come from this nervous system activation, the sympathetic nervous system activation, their body detecting a threat. And so knowing this as parents, we can either react when they get snappy or rude or whatever behavior we might be seeing. We can react and aid in that elevation, that escalation of the sympathetic nervous system, which is sending them into fight, flight, or freeze. Or we can respond in a way that's going to help activate their parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to bring them back down to a place where they can actually hear what we're saying, where they can understand and problem solve with us and work together with us. Because when they're in fight, flight, freeze mode, their frontal lobe is offline. There's no logic or reasoning when they're in this heightened state. So we need to help them come back down to baseline first through co-regulation. And that means this process of regulation or activating the parasympathetic nervous system to bring us back down, doing it together with your child. Because then, once they are back down to baseline, they can cooperate with us. They can problem solve with us. They can speak to us about their feelings and emotions or whatever is going on. So all of this to say that I know sometimes hearing the phrase nervous system regulation sounds a little out there, a little complex, a little whatever, but it's really super important, and you don't have to know all the technical terms for all the nervous system pieces to be able to do this. You just have to be willing to learn how to regulate your own nervous system, and that starts with mindful awareness, noticing when you're getting really anxious or really frustrated or whatever it may be that's making your heart race and making your blood pressure go up, and you can feel yourself being activated. Noticing that is the first step, because once you notice it, then you can get to the point where you notice it and you go, I'm activated, let me do something to shift this. And moving from noticing to being able to do something about it takes a long time and a lot of practice. You're not going to get it on the first try, and that's okay. It takes a ton of practice. But you can do it. And once you can do it, then you can work with your child to help them be able to do it.